Welcome back to AODN Summit 2020. We are now joined with Dr. Phylis Lan on breaking the glass ceiling, diversity and inclusion. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce Dr. Phylis Lan. Dr. Lin, Professor Emerita of the University of Indianapolis, held former roles with the university as the Associate Vice President for International Partnerships, Professor of Sociology, the Executive Director of University Press, and the Director of Asian Programs at the University of Indianapolis. Dr. Lin, as Professor Emerita, continues to serve on the Board of Directors and supports Board of Director acknowledgement for AODN and is a visiting professor for the OD PhD program at Assumption University, Thailand. She received the University of Indianapolis Meritorious Award for 45 years of dedicated teaching, administration, and service, and the Phylis Lan Department of Social Work is named in her honor. Dr. Lin holds a PhD in sociology from the University of Missouri and is a prolific writer and editor in Chinese and English, and has edited and contributed to such publications as Organizational Behavior, Stress Management and Sociology, and Medical Sociology. She has organized and chaired international symposia on China and service learning, and established the University of Indianapolis Press. The Master Al-Honin Museum of University of Indianapolis is one of her enduring cultural legacies. It is my distinct honor to welcome Dr. Phylis Lan to preside over Breaking the Glass Ceiling, Diversity and Inclusion. Dr. Lin.
Thank you, Sunny. Good evening and good morning. Yesterday, I said I am a student of OD, and you will find my presentation today, in many ways, I have put OD in practice in my teaching, administration, research, and service career at the University of Indianapolis. Today's discussion is a topic which everybody is very much familiar with, but I will use both sociological and OD perspectives in discussing the subject matter. So please do not take photos, but there are a few slides I would like you to take photos, and I will let you know. Thank you. My discussion will include 4 parts. Part 1 will be the introduction, where I will define the conceptual framework of the subject matter, breaking the glass ceiling. In part 2, I will use my story at the University of Indianapolis, where I served 45 years with different kinds of hats. Then I would like to also reserve time to hear your stories. So my discussion tonight with my story, which pretty much will be a micro approach or micro perspective. And part 3 will apply the glass ceiling issues at the organizational setting, which we will call it as a macro approach. And part 4 will provide some video and references and discuss research initiatives. But in reality, tonight's discussion may only allow us to cover part 1 and part 2. So at the end of part 2, I would like to call upon your participation, and we will serve that as a Q&A session. First of all, tonight's discussion will be pretty much my story. In 2005, I wrote a phrase, as an immigrant woman, I think education is my best asset, family is my best anchor, work is my best identity, service is my spirit, and most of all, my cultural heritage is my soul. So you will find that tonight's discussion, I am using this framework to share with you my life story. So first of all, let me address a few issues about diversity and inclusion. And in fact, to start out with, I would like to make definitions of diversity and inclusion. So we must recognize the whole gamut of human potentialities, and so weave a less arbitrary social fabric, one in which each diverse human gifts will find a fitting place. So this is a quote from the very well-known anthropologist Margaret Mead. Diversity is a noun, meaning the mix. Whereas inclusion, even though it's also a noun, it means making the mix work. Inclusion refers to protective behaviors based on self-awareness and respect for differences that make people feel valued for their abilities, unique qualities, and perspectives they contribute to an organization. Some some scholars will use diversity and inclusion interchangeably, but we would like to make a slight distinction of these two concepts. Just think, when you cook a Chinese dinner, and there are many dishes, maybe 12 dishes, so that's diversity. But in each dish, you will find different ingredients. That's diversity. But you want to know, how does each of the ingredients play in each of the dish? Sometimes certain ingredients, like hot chili pepper, may be excluded from a particular dish. And that's what we call exclusion. So I hope this analogy will give you a good understanding of the similarities and differences between the two concepts, diversity and inclusion. And so here we are really talking about diversity and inclusion in the workplace. To include everybody in the workplace, we must take into account many variables, such as language and gender, sexual orientation, age and ethnicity, religion and educational background, etc. Furthermore, here, let me move this thing a little bit to the, yeah, okay. So although women have made great progress in terms of leadership equality with men in the workplace, women are still underrepresented in the upper echelons of organizations. Therefore, the glass ceiling is still very true. In the world, many countries have made some good progress, such as in Europe, Middle East, and the Asian Pacific region. So we acknowledge the progress, but yet the glass ceiling is still there. And we want to make some rationalizations why we want to discuss this topic, diversity and inclusion. So the world needs the talents of all qualified individuals at the highest levels of the corporate world, regardless of race, gender, or ethnicity. And the presence of glass ceilings due to social, cultural, and religious barriers prevents women's entry to higher position in many countries. So we want to re-emphasize that although progress has been made, gender stereotype, wage issues, and organizational environments hindering women's career growth still prevail in various Asian countries, and it also still prevails in America. Let me further define glass ceiling one more time. A glass ceiling is a subtle but damaging form of discrimination and exclusion when you cannot attain the opportunities you deserve, despite your suitability and your best efforts. So here we're talking about the argument here is deserve. You have done good jobs, but you still not having the opportunity to move upwards. So that creates a discriminatory situation, and it's what we call the glass ceiling. You can see through it, but you cannot break through it. Okay? So gender diversity is a business imperative. Breaking the glass ceiling is talent management issue, and it is also a leadership quality issue. And because we think it's a talent management issue, it's also a leadership quality issue. Therefore, tonight's topic is closely related to HR and OD. And so glass ceiling issue is found all over the world, every place. So I consider gender gap is a global issue. Glass ceiling is a global issue. And we want to reiterate the importance of this issue. It is so important that we say this issue that should not be ignored. And then why cannot be ignored? Because gender diversity is a business, government, academia, nonprofit sector imperative. And breaking the glass ceiling is a human resource management issue. Glass ceiling relates to diversity and inclusive issues. And racial bias plays a major role in blocking Asian American women career advancement in America. Being an Asian American woman in America, so tonight my discussion actually will be by and large relating to Asian American women. And here we consider Asian American women experiencing the so-called double bind because gender is one bind and racial bias, racial also as a second bind. And originally, when we talk about glass ceiling, we were referring to female, women only. But now because race and ethnic background also take part in this glass ceiling issue, so sometimes we also include male in the discussion. The purpose of tonight's presentation is to analyze subtle organizational and institutional factors that contribute to glass ceiling. And I will cover situations in both East and West. I will use my own and participant stories to delineate effective ways, or I call it pillars, to break the glass ceiling. So let me say it one more time. What is glass ceiling? It is a term which was introduced in 1986 in the Wall Street Journal article. And it was defined. The glass ceiling is a metaphor for the invisible barrier that prevents some people from rising to senior or certain leadership positions. And there is another terminology which is closely related to glass ceiling, but very few people have heard about it. It's called a glass escalator. So glass escalator refers to the smooth path afforded men in promotion in the workplace, especially in pink collar occupation. So pink collar occupation refers to occupation primarily filled by women, like elementary school teachers, nursing profession, where majority of the workers in those two occupations are females. So we call it pink collar. And men in these kind of occupational groups move much faster, like you are now walking, but you are taking the escalator, you move upward very fast. So here you see two terminologies very closely related, glass ceiling and the glass escalator. So glass ceiling issues have also been recognized and discussed in America for quite a few years now. And as you know, in America in 1964, we had the Civil Rights Act. And in 1991, President George H.W. Bush, he formed the commission. That's what we call it, the Federal Glass Ceiling Commission, and to look into the glass ceiling issues in America. The Federal Glass Ceiling Commission focuses on 3 barriers to career advancement for women. The first area refers to inadequate recruitment practices. Number 2, lack of opportunity to contribute to and participate in corporate development programs. And number 3, lack of top-level ownership of EEO principles. So you will find that when we talk about breaking the glass ceilings, we are actually referring to the 3 areas: being recruited, and the opportunities for upward mobilities been blocked, and then not following the equal employment opportunity principles. Using sociological concept, we consider gender as an ascribed status. Ascribed status meaning that the kind of status which was born to you. When you were born as a woman, then you have certain status in certain society. Age is another ascribed status. CEO is an achieved status. Okay, so here gender been used as reason, as a reason or as a variable for your partial treatment in the society. And that's one of the reasons that it's very hard to break the glass ceiling, because it is hard to change our ascribed status, much easier to change achieved status. Okay, so gender is a category that a person occupies that largely determines how she or he will be defined and treated. This status is then associated with a role, which is a set of expected behaviors that are to be performed according to social norms. So for example, I am a woman, so woman is my ascribed status. So people, regardless what I do, people say, well, you are a woman. So maybe your mother, your role as a mother will be much more important than your role as a chairperson of a department. So social norms are powerful in that they determine the privileges and responsibilities a status possesses. And so being women, then we suffer from that privilege. Okay, so this is pretty much a sociological interpretation of the nature of a glass ceiling issue. So again, glass ceiling is a double bind issue in the workplace. In 2020, Kinder, in her book called "The Female Fair Brands," she wrote, "Women in the workplace are often in the double mind. Leadership wants women to command the room without being commanding and to be more assertive, but the moment they fire them. So you do it, you're wrong. You don't do it, you're wrong too." So this is what we call a double bind. Okay? And double bind has 2 meanings: race and gender. And double bind also means you do it or you don't do it. Either way, you got hurt. So furthermore, the glass ceiling is a concept applied to women and some minorities. As I mentioned, the double bind refers to race and gender. And it is very difficult to break through that ceiling. So here we use a labyrinth. Refers to an intricate, confusing combination of paths in which it is difficult to find one's way, a complicated or tortuous arrangement. So glass ceiling is tough, very difficult to break. Okay? There are a number of reasons that we use to explain how did it all happen, in addition to just being a woman. Okay? So there are a number of reasons. Could be one of the followings, or 2 of the followings, or all of the above. Number 1 is not being prepared. Not having educational background. Let me let me see, excuse me, okay. Not being prepared, meaning that not having enough education background or certain skills to perform certain jobs. Therefore, you are not going to be promoted. Number two, the challenge of combining managerial careers with family life. So here we're talking about professional role versus family role. Number three, not wanting to relocate to another geographical location because of family life, and therefore your promotion being blocked. Number four, a victim of traditional cultural norm on women's proper place in society. So that refers to the stereotype. And finally, failure to present self-assertively. In other words, you have all the opportunities for promotion, or you have all the opportunities to participate, but you have not done, or you do not know how to present yourself properly or assertively, and therefore your opportunities being blocked. So you will find here, we find the cultural reasons, social reasons, and the personal reasons for the class ceiling to happen in the workplace. So with those factors, then we come up with theories, like for example, person-centered theories. The person-centered theory focuses on skills, traits, and behavior of women employees. For example, maybe you're not assertive enough. So this refers to person-centered theory. Social role theories, namely women's achieved role. Number three, situation and organizational theories. For example, oh, women, you cannot become astronaut because of the women's physical condition. Therefore, you cannot become astronauts or firemen or participate in certain sports. Interaction theories, and again, you don't know how to present yourself in everyday life. You're not assertive enough. So that relates to interaction theories. And then the human capital theories. In other words, in many organizations, they downgrade women's capabilities to lead. They downgrade women's capabilities to perform certain jobs, neglecting the human capital aspect. And then preference theories. In other words, women say, well, I would rather stay home to raise a family. So that's your preference. And therefore, it's not, we don't want to move you up because that is your choice. So these are some of the theories that we often use to explain the occurrence of glass ceiling in the workplace. So I have done research, and I come up with at least 54 keywords related to glass ceiling. And so then this will give you some idea the complexity of this subject matter. For example, career management, cultural barriers, discrimination, gender gap, and, gender stereotyping, glass escalator, flexible time, exclusion, human capital, and international issues and minority issues, self-efficacy, role models, and women's career barriers, and women of color, talent management, social system, and so forth. So you see there are at least 54 keywords I could think of. Now let's take a look about the glass ceiling in America. Since the presidential election, we have made a good progress. As you know, that Vice President-elect Kamala Harris is a woman of color, and it's really a big breakthrough in America. And she said, I may be the first, but not the last. And furthermore, in addition to appointing Kamala Harris as the Vice President-elect, Biden's team also, President-elect Biden also names diverse economic team with 4 women in top roles to help build recovery. And Biden also announces all-female communication teams. And one of the very well-known economists, Janet Yellen, also been appointed as the U.S. Treasury Secretary. So it's a real big breakthrough in America. Everybody's so excited about the progress being made by the new administration. But on the other hand, we also see in 2020 in America, women still only make up just 14% of the Fortune 500 executive committees, and there are few women CEOs. So the governor of New York, Governor Cuomo, he said, I believe women still face a glass ceiling that must be shattered, not just break through, but needs to be shattered. Okay? So here, just give you a little bit of a statistic to know the situation in America. The yellow lines here refers to women as a percent of workforce. So close to 50% of the women participate in the workforce. However, you see this green line here, which represents women as a percent of officials and managers. So it's much lower percentage than the female labor force participation. Oh. What am I doing? Okay. And then not just the the position in terms of pay gap. Okay, in America, women make about 80% of what men make nationwide. The average full-time female worker earned $42,295, and the average full-time male workers earned $52,000 some dollars. So you see only 80%. Now let's take the world situation. You'll find that in this chart here, this is what we call the glass ceiling index. Okay, if it is 100%, that means there's no glass ceiling. Men and women are equal. The average here, the score here, the average here is a little bit over 60. United States 20. Japan and Turkey 27, and North European countries like Sweden and Norway, they've done much better. So 80, score 80, and score about 79. Okay? And here's talking about the gender, age, and women's earnings as a percentage of males' earnings. So overall, it's about 80%, but if you were the age 20 to 24 category, women's earnings as a percentage of men's earnings, so women makes about 90%. But if you are 45 and over, much lower, so 77.5% only. Then let me move to Asia. And Asia, as I just mentioned earlier, that making some good progress. So Forbes magazine, April 12, 2017, had a feature article and indicating some good news in Asia. So that these women are smashing the glass ceiling in Asia, and they are all about under 30 and under. And here we have athletes, and then we also have fashion designer and so forth. But on the other hand, the reality is we still find glass ceiling in Asia. So if we use a different category to make a comparison, you see the board seats held by women in Asia. In China, only 8.1%, and then in Japan, 1.1%, India, 4.7%, Indonesia, 6.0%. Okay, so you will see the barrier still very much in exist in Asia. And then we can even go further to talk about the situation in China. And interesting enough, Wall Street Journal in 2016 made a study, and it was found that Chinese women in 2016 made an average of nearly 4,500 yuan or 660 US dollars a month. That is 22.3% less than male average. But they found that education made a difference. When you have a PhD woman will make only 16.7% less than men. But if you only have a high school diploma, then you only make 33% less than men. So in China, they called women with highly educated, women with high education as the third gender. So there is a saying said that if you really want to break the glass ceiling in China, you need to do two things. Number one, get a PhD, namely to receive high degree, and number two, move into the big city. So here just more discussions about Asian American women. So we try to give you some scenarios in Asia, and then here we move back to America. So in Asian American women also very similar situation. I'm going to quote you. Excuse me. Let me see previous. Okay. I'm going to quote to a very recent study reported in the Forbes magazine. Says that Asian American women make up only 5.8% of the U.S. population, but comprise to 12% of the professional workforce. And 49% of all Asians in America over 25 years of age have a bachelor's degree or higher, compared only 31% of whites, 18% of blacks, and 13% of Hispanics. So in other words, Asians' educational level in general much higher than the whites and other ethnic groups. Okay, and of course, the higher the education, it also reflects the income level. In America, there is another terminology describing the glass ceiling dilemma here. The Asians, because bamboo is an Asian plant, and so we use bamboo ceiling to refer to Asian American women's situation. Bamboo ceiling. And interesting enough, a study found out that students of getting into Harvard University, Asian students, fair enough, Asian Americans are twice as likely as are white people to have college degrees, and the Chinese are 6 times as likely, getting into Ivy League schools. However, not when after you graduate, the issue is then the employment, you will see the discrepancies of the employment opportunities for Asian women. In other words, to get into the Ivy League school, fine, but to get into the good job, then you begin to find bamboo ceilings for Asian American women. So then we want to argue why we want to study glass ceiling issue. Here's a good rationale. Study shows diverse leadership generates stronger business results. In other words, companies with greater ethnic and gender diversity innovate faster, and improved gender diversity alone can add trillions of dollars to global GDPs. In other words, if you use women talents, then the organization will have a much better performance. that's good enough a rationale that we have to look into glass glass ceiling issue. And recently in Indianapolis, where I'm living, we also found that independent research has shown that companies that go the extra miles in hiring and promoting minorities and women are more profitable. Okay. So it's not just one study, but study after studies. Even though this study was back in 1995, it was done by Glass Ceiling Commission, but as recently as October 2020, in Indianapolis, we also have the similar kind of findings that diverse leadership generates stronger business results. So to discuss break the glass ceiling, we really need to look at from three different levels: individual, organizational, and social. And today my discussion will focus on the individual level. Okay? So I will use the next 60 slides and I will move as fast as I can to share with you my little stories of how I survived and how I broke the glass ceiling at the University of Indianapolis, a small story. So I will use 14 pillars to explain how did I do it. So first of all, I am in August, on August 15th, 1978, I gave birth to my daughter. And then at the same time, I was appointed as the department chairperson. So I put two pictures in my department, in my office. And you know, when people came in, they say, "Oh, is that your baby?" And only 1 out of 10 people who saw these two signs, they mentioned about the department chairperson position I had. So then I began to ask myself, what is a woman's major role? Homemaker or professional woman? Mother or professor? Interesting, isn't it? Then I like storytelling. Storytelling is empowering. I would like also to hear your stories. I want to make sure that I leave enough time for you to share with us your stories. So today I'm humbly sharing with you my 40 years of professional life in teaching, research, service, and administration in the next 45 or 50 minutes. And then definitely I'll have to make my long story short. But while discussion, I am also applying, excuse me, what Dr. Matt mentioned, the OD competency platform, and I really apply a little bit of skills that I have had in OD to my career at the University of Indianapolis. So this is my picture when I was 1 year old. So before I start, overall, I like to share with you that working at the University of Indianapolis, it doesn't mean that I want to become a leader, but what I meant is that you have to see your own potential. You see yourself not just a professor, not just a researcher, but there are some other things that you can contribute. In that sense, I called myself that I want to become a leader, but actually that becomes secondary. I ask myself, what do you want to do first? And I don't ask myself, what do you want to become? Okay. So I have a couple of guiding posts. And first I quote one of the gurus in leadership studies and in OD, Warren Bennis. He said that to become a leader, you must become yourself, become the maker of your own life. And that's what Dr. Matt said last hour. the use of self. Actually, it's the use of self. And I also mentioned this Maxwell's work yesterday. We all want to become the highest level of pinnacle leaders. And so in my 45 years of work at UIndy, every day I work hard and I work hard, but I don't know whether I have reached to this level or not. Nevertheless, it's a level which I told myself that you're not only trying to make yourself as a leader, but more important, you want to make leaders. Okay, leader makes leaders. And this is the key word in my life, in my work life, resilience. Resilience refers to the ability to adapt to life's changes and crises. Is a key to healthy, productive life. So in Chinese, resilience called 很有韧性, okay, 很有韧性. You dare to take the challenges and flexible, and that's how I survive, and how I present myself in everyday work at the university, the practice of resiliency, and I'll have more discussion later. So in this journal, and they're all, you'll find quite often the articles about Asian American women as professor administrators seem having difficulties in their career mobility in a white male American dominated work environment in higher education. But there are many articles to prove that point. Yes, we're still having the glass ceilings. So like I said yesterday, to talk about breaking the glass ceiling and my work experience. So the very first thing I asked myself was, who am I? Who am I? Do you want to become a leader, or you want to, make a difference, make an impact? The starting point is to know yourself, define who you are. So I'm a woman, that's my gender identity. I'm a professor, that's my profession and my career. I was an associate vice president for international partnerships. That was my title. And I was born in Taiwan. And I'm Asian American woman, it's my citizenship. I am a Chinese American woman, that refers to my cultural heritage. And I am a daughter, wife, mother, and so forth. That refers to the role I play. And I am an integrated woman. So integrated woman refers to a professional woman who tries to find balance between work and a professional life. And so that's my idealism. Okay? And of course, most of all, I am a human being. You are a human being first, okay, regardless. And there's another way of seeing myself. Is I use my sociological imagination, that I am interested in many fields of studies and sociology of art, medical sociology, family complex organizations, sociology of occupation, profession, service learning, and stress management, and so forth. So that's also how I see myself. So to start out with, I want to tell you a little bit of a story. In 1973, I came to Indianapolis for a job interview, and I was teaching in Missouri, and my husband was working with the General Motors in Indianapolis. So I decided to relocate to work, to be with my husband. So I applied for a job, and on January 4th, I came in for an interview. And at the end of the day, the president gave me an offer. And I thought that offer was way too low. So I said, thank you for your kind offer, but you must increase my salary by at least $2,000. You will be happy to hire me to work with you for the next few decades. And the president heard me after the interview. And he said, done, just like that. And I would say, my God, how did I have the gut to argue, to negotiate for the salary? And so to negotiate anything, you must be precise. How much more money you think you would like to have, and then you need to make a win-win proposal. So Dr. Jin sees, he was the president at that time. So he offered me a position as assistant professor of behavioral sciences to teach courses in sociology. And he wrote me an offer letter. He said, we have been interviewing additional candidates and have today agreed that you are our first choice for the position in sociology. And so I humbly accepted his offer. And who knows, I came in 1973 and I stayed for 45 years. Wonderful place to work. So next, I would use 14 pillars to share with you how an American, Chinese American, or Asian American professional woman survived. First, your childhood and upbringing set the value orientation for you. 2, a good support system will sustain your strengths and help you sail through crisis. 3, you must polish and learn your leadership skills regardless of your position in an organization. 4, be a well-rounded person with an interdisciplinary approach, well-read, having good research and writing skill. 5, take the advantage of your cultural heritage. Know your strengths and deficiencies. You must be 6, you must be on top of what is going on in the world. Know the mega trends and their implications for your life and work. 7, use self as an agent of change. Be authentic, be yourself, know yourself. You must find your niche. 8, be assertive, not aggressive. 9, understand your organizational culture well. 10, find your role models and learn from them. 11, reaffirm your own life philosophy, the VIP model and 4H canon, which I follow. 12, see resilience as a virtue. Cultivate your hardy personality. Hardy personality refers to 刚毅的人格. 13, have good stress management skills. And number 14, prepare next generation leaders, leaders making leaders, okay? So I will quickly share with you some of the stories. So number 1, your upbringing affects your value orientation. So my value orientation, one of them is the service and compassion orientation. I was profoundly influenced by my mother. She's one of the most well-known female eye doctors in Taiwan. She's 102 years old now. She practiced medicine for 50 years. And while she was practicing medicine every year, New Year time, she would ask our housekeeper to bring sacks of rice to the poor, needy. And so seeing this act, from very little on, I grew up with that compassion orientation. Okay? And also my parents told me that, Phyllis, we grow up, you grow up in Taiwan. Taiwan is such a small island. It's just like a frog living in the whale. You must jump out and to see the big sky countries. And that was one of the major reasons they sent me to America upon my graduation from Donghai University. And number 3, my parents gave me the name Cai Feng. Cai Feng in Chinese called in Feng Dong Cao Yan. So Cai, my first name is grass. Feng is wind. When the wind blows, the grass bends. So because I was the firstborn, so my parents would like me to become a role model of my younger brothers and sisters. I have 3 younger sisters and 1 younger brother. And so this leadership training concept was imprinted in me since the day I was born. And also at home, my mother, being a doctor, she has 11 nurses, and she told me, she said, Phyllis, we have to be very nice and kind with our nurses, because Mom said that those nurses, they are like the legs of the crab. I am the crab. I cannot move forward or backward without coordinating and without assistance from those legs, from those nurses. And so since I was very young, I learned this concept of a team player. Okay, so he is a kind boss with a team concept, the story of the crab. And here's the story of the frog living in the well. And I also obtained furthermore this service and compassion concept from my father-in-law. He was also a physician, practiced medicine for 50 years, and he practiced medicine in a small town in southern Taiwan. And he quite often did not charge patients, or just ask for very little fees. And so upon his retirement, the villagers gave him a banner, and the villagers called my father-in-law, you are our village's Buddha. You are our living Buddha. So again, I learned the service concept and compassionate concept from my mother and father-in-law. I'd like to share with you another doctor quote, Albert Schweitzer, a very well-known doctor. He spent many years in Africa. He said, success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. And if you love what you are doing, you will be successful. And then Albert Schweitzer also said that what brings his happiness is a service, as simple as that. My second pillar is that I must have a good support system to sustain. In other words, a good support system will sustain your strengths and help you sail through crisis. So we need to have a good support system. Okay, good support system. So your support system can be your spouse, your mentor, and other family members and good friends and so forth. In Chinese, we say you must have 贵人相助. Okay. Number 3, you must polish and learn your leadership skills regardless of your position in an organization. In other words, my point of view is that everybody can become a leader regardless of position you are in an organization. And you need to create your own position and do not let the position create you. And in fact, interesting enough, one day I told our university president and provost, I said that we really, I said that, Asia is becoming so important in the world. We really need to create an Asian program. And so both of them say yes to me. And later they say, well, Phyllis, since you created the Asian program, so we will name you the director of Asian program. And then in 2004, I told my president, I said, well, for the university to become a recognized academic institution, we should have a university press. And my president said, fine, Phyllis, you go ahead and then see what you want to do. So then I created the university press, and the president then named me executive director of the University of Indianapolis Press. And I was the executive director for more than 10 years. Okay? So in other words, wherever you work, what position you're in, you don't need to wait for people to promote you. You need to innovate and you need to find your niche with the vision. And of course, at UNDI, in 1978, I also proposed to the university. I said that, we really need to create, there are more and more social problems in America, in our community. Maybe we should introduce 2 programs. One is social work and another one is clinical psychology. And sure enough, in 1997, we established a social work program, and now it's called the Phylis Lane Department of Social Work. And we also created clinical psychology program. And I didn't really have any contribution to the clinical psych program, but nevertheless, way back in 1978, I did have a proposal that the university should have a clinical psych program. Okay. My guidepost is VIP, and VIP, which refers to vision, integrity, and passion. So this is my motto for my life. Well, my life philosophy is based on this model, the VIP model. Vision, because of having the vision, I'll be able to see something which nobody could see. I created Asian programs. So I said I would like to bring Asia to UND and UND to Asia. So I created many programs, including the joint degree programs with China. And then I created University Press, social work department, and then integrity. Perhaps that is the most important. In any workplace, you want people to respect you. You want to have a self-respect. You must have integrity, which means that I say what I mean what I say, honesty. Okay? And so you need to be authentic. And I believe in myself. I am trustworthy. And I have principle and integrity. And I remember there was one time, I cannot name this person's name, a very successful businessman one day came to me and said, Phylis, I would like to receive an honorary degree from university, and I can give you, that's a real big sum of money. And could you help me to obtain the degree? And I said, I'm sorry, our degree, whether honorary degree or regular, university degree, is not for sale. It's not for sale. That's just an example of integrity, okay? And then the VIP model of leadership, a very important point is leadership is always a relationship thing, okay? Having good relationship rapport, that's most important. And so I was at the University in Indianapolis. I have so many hats, but I only have one student helper. I don't have any staff with all the programs I have. And so actually nobody officially report to me. Leadership without authority. Okay? Is one who can inspire commitment and performance among people over whom they have no official authority. I don't have any official authority, but I was able to get things done. How? Because I was very fortunate to have a good team. Okay? In any time when I was going to launch a new program, I always created my own team. And they are cross-functional and hail from different colleges and departments. So here I also network with colleagues in different colleges and in different departments. And I remember, since I don't have any staff, so I depend very much on volunteers. And I remember one retired volunteer said to me one time, said, "Phyllis, you are the only one who took me seriously." Meaning that, oh, people say, oh, you're retired. No, I don't know. We still want to use you or not. But I grabbed the opportunity and working with this helping a volunteer. And so this volunteer was most indispensable in all the events I had organized. Another point I'd like to make here about the leadership concept is that really leadership is not just a relationship thing. Leadership actually is a self-cultivation. You need to know yourself first before you know other people. You need to lead yourself first before you try to lead other people. You need to be a follower first before you want to claim yourself as a leader. Okay, so here I use another terminology, self-leadership, which means know one's strengths and weaknesses and translate them into leadership opportunities. You know, you just need to grab opportunities everywhere. I remember the Chinese successful businessman Ma Yun. Everybody knows him, and he says that, you know, it's not that I know how to make good money. It's that I know how to grab the opportunities. Okay? And so know yourself first. How you know yourself? Know your strengths and know your weaknesses. All of us have weaknesses, but don't just talk about your weaknesses all the time. Knowing them and then move forward and to see how can I convert those weaknesses into, transform them into your strengths. I will elaborate on that in a few minutes. And here I also like to give you another example of how I practice that VIP, not only in the VIP, but also I have a sense of mission, because I really like to bring Asia to America, or bring Asia, or more precisely Chinese culture, to University of Indianapolis. So I established the Old Haonian Museum. Master Old Haonian is one of the most well-known Chinese brush art painter in Asia, Lingnan School of Art. So I created the Old Haonian Museum, and I made a few statements at the opening of the Old Haonian Museum. I said that art knows no national boundaries. My hope is that the museum will serve as a bridge between our two cultures, namely American and Chinese cultures, East and West, and an enticement for viewers to learn more about China's rich and diverse heritage. I also hope that the university will host similar occasions in the future, opening its doors to other collections of art from Asia, Africa, Europe, the Americas, and any other ethnic or national tradition. I envision a day when the campus is bustling with events inspired and brought together by our collections. So through art, I also create bridge between East and the West. The Old Haonian Museum, I welcome you. When you have a chance to come to Indianapolis, I welcome you to visit Old Haonian Museum. And in terms of more discussion about the leadership and leadership skills and leadership images and so forth, let me share with you one of the research findings. Says that a recent study says that executives who move effectively into the C-suite are communicating priorities, valuing their team, spending time on culture, and understanding their unique leadership role. And so being a woman, supposedly disadvantaged, right? But actually, we talk about power, the smart power versus soft power, 巧实力 and the 软实力. And women, we are so compassionate. We often, offer what we call the soft power. And sometimes when you exercise soft power, you become much more understandable and having much better communications with your colleagues and rapport with your colleagues and co-workers and so forth. And that's how I get things done. We need to exercise both smart power and soft power, okay? And stick with your team and share your core values with your team. And one thing I would like to make here is women in an organization, in a workplace, do not just think that you want to strive, you want to, move forward, move upward. Once you move upward, actually, the very first thing you need to think about yourself is, how do you then help others to move to the same stage as yours? So women should try to support each other and also try to mentor with each other. And women should create and make rooms for your junior colleagues. Okay? So I have supported many junior colleagues in many different ways, and they are on my team. So without their help, I could accomplish nothing. So I cuts across my department, sociology. Here, I also work with the music department. This is one example. I have examples of working with other department, English department, business department, and so forth. Here, music department. Yeah, our faculty. This time I brought 3 faculty to China, and we had a concert in Shanghai this time. So I had also brought other faculties to Taiwan, have concert. It's an East meets West concert at the China Shanghai Normal University. So we work with music faculty there. And then some of their faculty also, I invited them to be visiting scholars at my university, and I sponsor them. These 2 also, from both also received doctorate degree in music. They came to University of Indianapolis. And also another music faculty from Shanghai Normal University also came. And one day I asked him, I said that, what would you like to realize while you were in America? And he said that, my dream is to have a concert in America. And I said, I will make it happen for you. And I did. All 3 of them, I sponsored concerts in America. Yes. Okay, number 4, the 4th pillar is be a well-rounded person with an interdisciplinary approach, well-read, having good research and writing skills, developed a hobby. And I would like to say that we must, okay, in-depth mastery in your own field and also in other fields as well. We should have both depth in the broad. Okay? 要博还要深. All right. But most important, being Chinese American, English is not my native language. And so just like many of our international students in America, we all suffer from language barriers. And therefore, I try very hard. I try to read as much as possible. I look up the dictionary. I think I have 10 different kinds of dictionaries. And then I also very fortunate to be able to work closely with several professional editors. So I learn from my mistakes in writing. I learn every day. It's very important, okay? And rounded person that you'll not just be familiar with your own field in sociology, in organizational studies, also rounded field of whatever you're interested in. And I'm interested in Chinese art. I also collect Chinese minorities, baby carriers, and Chinese children's hats. There's a book published in 1997 and still posted by Amazon and other bookstores about this book. So 苗族，贵州苗族 someday, hopefully, I will share with you my collection and share with you the symbolism of Chinese minorities, baby carriers, okay, folklore and symbolism. Number 4, again, be well-rounded, so the 活到老学到老, become a lifelong student, become a lifelong learner, just like Dr. Matt said last hour. One of the competencies for the OD practitioners is that we have to continue to learn, never stop learning. So I, in addition to read magazines and books in my own fields, I also subscribe magazines which, not really my own, it relate to my field. Just want to broaden my understanding and knowledge in other fields. And I also watch TED Talks all the time, and it's a program in UK called Thinkers 50, the 50 most well-recognized leaders in OD and in management field and in leadership field, understand what they wrote and read their publications and so forth. Okay. Living in America, I came to America in 1966. It's 54 years now. And one thing I'm ashamed to say is that as of today, I still do not understand football game. The only thing I understand is a team sport, because knowing, OD, so I know what team's about, what is team spirit. That's all I know. Then number 5, the 5th pillar is take advantage of your cultural heritage, know your strengths and deficiencies. So here, bilingual, so never, no, I don't say, no, I speak no good English and so forth. I just said, I'm so proud of myself. I can speak Chinese and I can also speak English, even though I'm still learning how to write good English all the time. But I do not in public say, I do not speak English, okay? Or I do not speak good English. Yeah. So instead of saying, speaking poor English, thinking that, gee whiz, I can speak Chinese, I can speak Taiwanese and other languages and so forth, right? Then, being woman is deficiency. And then a few minutes ago, I talked about soft power. Another thing is I am short. So I am short. It could be a disadvantage, but really not, because I'm short for physically, I am not presenting any threat to anyone, right? And then also in addition, when I try to converse with anyone, I would never standing up and then talking to each other. No, I said, please, let's sit down and talk. Because when we sit down, I don't see the difference between our heights. Yeah, so we are much equal than while we were standing up. Am I making sense? Okay, so, and then being Chinese, living in America, so I try to take advantage of the best of 2 worlds. I respect American culture, I reserve my Chinese culture. So having the best of 2 worlds, okay? The 5th pillar, take advantage of your cultural heritage, know your strengths and deficiencies. So here I said that, having Chinese cultural heritage, that's your strengths, but also respect American culture. Bear in mind bear in mind, taking the perspective of cultural relativism instead of ethnocentrism. Okay. So here I identify myself as Chinese American. I 95% of time I wear my Chinese outfit, but I admire Chinese and American flags and American ego, American spirit. So I try to have the best of the two worlds, dual identity. So this is my office. I still pretty much value my Chinese heritage. So that's, and every 6 months I change a picture here. I change a painting here. I must read this sentence. While practicing traditional Chinese or Asian cultural values, namely filial piety, deference to authority, humility, hard work, harmony, and practice deferred gratification, we must also be active in networking, prepare for self-efficacy, and exercise self-assertion. So these are more of a Western culture here. Scientific mind, democratic mind, and so forth. So try to practice the best of the two cultures while you are living in America. I think I have explained this a few minutes ago. And I want to quote one of the success stories of a Chinese American by the name of Eunice Zhou. She was very successful businesswoman in the food supply industry. And she said, it's a cultural thing for women to be nice, supportive, and quiet. Women need to stand up for what they want, talk up things you've accomplished, and show people that they need you. Okay? In other words, you have to talk up things you've accomplished. Let people know what you want. Be assertive, but not aggressive. I will have more discussion on that. That's the successful businesswomen advise us. Number 6, you must be on the top of what is going on in the world. Know the mega trends and their implications for your life and work. So be up to date. Be up to date. What's going on in America? What's going on in Asia, in China, in Indonesia? You must abreast of all the information that you can grab. All right? Ask yourself a question such as, how do I keep up with technology change? What are the impacts of demographic change? How to become a leader in the new era? And we have to learn in different ways in the next 5 to 10 years. So be abreast with the newest thing, on the top of everything. Number 7, I'm using all these terminology. Use self as an agent of change. Be authentic, be yourself, know yourself. You must find your niche, okay? Find yourself. You have to create your own position. You have to create your own leadership, right? So here, be clear about your strengths, believe in yourself, stay focused. Stay focused and stay true to who you are. Know what you can do, what you cannot do, all right? You need to have strong sense of purpose, a sense of mission, and you also need to create a sense of shared values and shared vision with your team. And then have the courage to face the challenge. Challenge can come from many different directions. And in 1997, I encountered cancer first time, and in the year of 2000, I encountered cancer second time. But interesting enough, I said that cancer saved my life instead of being claimed by cancer. I claimed cancer. I become healthier with the cancer experience. And while I was taking chemotherapy and radiation and all the treatment, I've never miss a class, miss a day at work. How? Because, for example, chemotherapy, I arranged to have a chemotherapy treatment on Friday afternoon after work. And so I could recuperate on Saturdays and Sundays. So Monday morning, I was ready to go back to work. Yeah. So don't let cancer claim you, you claim the experience. And because of the cancer experience, I, become much more knowledgeable about healthy living. Okay. Use self as an agent of change. This quote I'd like to share with you. Think of yourself less, but never think less of yourself. This is very important. Know yourself. Okay. On the one hand, you know your strengths, but never think less of yourself. 少为自己着想，但不可小看自己。Know your strengths. That means 但不可小看自己。Okay. And I also continue to keep my own Chinese identity. So my Chinese outfit is very unique, and then I wear suit, but I wear suit and still want to retain my femininity. So at work, wear suit, but I put on accessories and colorful scarves. So here, even though suit is pretty male, masculine look, but then with the scarf and accessory, so that makes me much more feminine. Okay. So your outfit, exterior also as important as your interior strengths and beauty. Okay. And most importantly, your dedication and conviction will help you make something happen. I always said that, we need to work with a team. Team building is so important because together we will make good things happen. Use the word we, as Roland Sullivan, our most highly admired guru in the field of OD, always say that we have to use the word we, right? Instead of I. So we said with the team, say, together we will make good things happen. And never take credit yourself. Take credit, everybody, recognize, everybody, celebrate success. Whenever I have an event, I celebrate them with my team. And when I celebrate them, actually not just celebrating with my colleagues, I respect everybody at work. Each time after a big event, the following day, I always invite janitors, staff from the maintenance, and staff from other units to have dinner, a special lunch or dinner on campus, just to thank them. And people say, Phyllis, why you thank them? I say, yes, we want to thank those people at the very top, the president, the provost, but we also need to thank you, those people at the very bottom. Without them, nothing can be done. All right? And again, we all have frustrations and failures, but do not see frustration or failures as setbacks, but see them as your turning point, as the opportunities. Okay? And then when you build something, take ownership of what you are building. Take ownership. That doesn't mean that you own something. That doesn't mean that everything must be shared. The take ownership, which means that once you build something, you continue to take responsibility of what you want to do. Okay, and also try very hard to make an impact. Impact not on yourself, impact on your students, impact on your colleagues, and impact on the community and beyond your community. Beyond your community, reach out to Asia. Reach out to Asia. That's my dream. Okay. And every day ask yourself, how will you measure your life? What is your legacy? What you want to leave behind? What kind of impact you want to leave behind? Number 8, be assertive and not aggressive. And I think we all know this. Need to show my professor at Dongan University in 1966, when I was ready to take off to come to America. And Professor C, in sociology professor, said to me that, Phylis, roll up your sleeves. You need to show people your muscles. But he doesn't really mean that you need to, get into a fight. Basically, he was saying that be assertive, make sure what you want, what you can do, and so forth, but never encroach upon other people's right. And be assertive and not aggressive. And also, another practice I do at work was that don't be afraid of asking for help. And asking for help, not just asking everybody, asking your junior, asking your student. You know, you don't know, you don't know. Just, it's a phrase what Confucius has said. 知为知，不知为不知. Therefore, don't be ashamed to ask for help. Okay? And be assertive, which means being assertive is a core communication skill. And assertiveness can help you express yourself effectively and stand up for your point of view while also respecting the rights and beliefs of others. So in March, AODN training, one of AODN's training programs, we will have a program on assertiveness training and conflict management. Excuse me, yeah. And the contrary to assertiveness it's a very different thing here. So the Chinese cultural thing. I think on the one hand, people say you're a superwoman. Actually, you're not really. I'm not a superwoman. I have my blind spots. So we practice 淡定, calmness. And let me use a Chinese to explain this because it's becoming a very, very popular talk or orientation in China. 所以作为一个淡定的女人，淡雅且有独特气质，不一定漂亮，但神韵不绝，不肤浅，内心柔软而坚定。This is what we call the practice of soft power and the hardy personality.